Coming up on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, we're going to plant our Ocas, not okra, but Ocas in the ground. And we're going to plant in this half whiskey barrel some herbs. All that and more coming up today on the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is sponsored by the following. MIgardener.com, over 300 varieties of non-GMO, heirloom, organic flowers, vegetables, and herb seeds, all for 99 cents. MIgardener.com. Sioux Growing Supply, located in Wausau, Wisconsin, focusing on certified leaf compost, an excellent amendment for poor soil. With their new garden blend, improving soil structure in clay and sandy soil, great for creating new garden beds. Also available from Sioux's, pre-filled trays and pots with professional potting soil mix or organic rice hull-based potting soil mix. Bag and bulk of certified leaf compost also available. Visit SiouxGrowingSupply.com. Stop before you dig. Call Digger's Hotline first. Call 3 business days before you dig. It's the law. It's completely free and it's for your safety. Know what's below before you dig. It's your responsibility. Call Digger's Hotline or visit them at diggershotline.com. HappyLeafLED.com. Commercial grade grow light with a home gardener's affordability. No fans, no motors. Simply plug in and grow. Great for seed starting to lettuce to full grown tomatoes. All indoors. HappyLeafLED.com.
Sustain Natural Fertilizer, offering superior organic plant foods that deliver research-proven results. Trusted by farmers, growers, and gardeners for 30 years. Learn more at sustain.com.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird. Well, today we're going to plant our Ocas. O-C-A, that's how you spell these. They're a tuber that originated from the Andes Mountains in South America. This is not a very popular tuber in the sense that it takes a very long time in order for tubers to develop. Now, it's very similar to the tuber potato that we're all familiar with here in North America. Based on certain articles in which you've done some research on, if the Europeans would have brought these over to Europe, these would be more popular than today's conventional potato. Well, there's many different varieties of Ocas in which you can grow. We grew last year the yellow and then these pink ones. We got them from cultivariable.com. That link is in the show notes. Now, we found that the yellow ones were okay. We found that the pinkish red ones were extremely sweet, almost like a fruit type. Now, they're not really designed to be grown in like zone 5 where we're at here, more southern, because you plant them now early in the spring, and you can see that we kept them over winter in sand and they've begun to sprout. Now, just like a regular tuber potato, we don't want to break those sprouts off because that's what's going to create our top growth, which will in turn start developing our tubers. You plant them now in the spring. You let them go. They will put on a lot of top growth. The top growth is edible for dishes such as stir fry, or you can eat them raw. But if you take away from the top growth by snipping the greens, you're going to decrease the volume of Ocas in which you're going to harvest late in fall. They start developing as the days get shorter in fall. If you can, the longer you can prolong them and keep them alive, you know, let's say middle of September is your first frost or middle of October, if you can cover them to keep them from being frosted on until you get closer to November, then you allow the frost to occur. The book says, or the internet says, and different growers have said, that the tubers will actually double in size underground after that first frost occurs. We planted them last year. They're one of the easiest crops that we've ever grown. Zero bug problem, zero maintenance required. We allowed them to grow and we harvested them the first week in December, and we got a good amount of tubers for what we felt were a plant that was not designed to be grown in zone 5A. So what we're going to do here is we're going to plant in this area here, the bed that I've worked, and again, you go by the book, you want to space these a good 18 inches apart to give them adequate space. What we're doing here is we're going to intense plant these things because that's what we did over on the other bed. We put 16 of them in a 2-foot by 12-foot bed, and it worked really well for what we felt in our return. We planted, I think, 16 plants, and we got a little over 5 pounds of Ocas. Now, to you, that might be a very good return. To us, it's a nice treat. and it's encouraging that we are able to grow something that's not supposed to be grown here. These are also comes from the same region as the yacons that we grow. So what we're going to do here is first we work the soil, remove the weeds. This is more of a denser, not as loose and loomy as I want it to be, but these Ocas are extremely durable and tough. So what we're going to do is use some Sustain plant food here. It's a 263, and I'm just going to work that in. They don't require a lot of anything. They're very naturally able to grow, but I'm just going to feed the soil here a little bit. And then we might choose to add a little bit more later. Now what will happen with these is this will literally be just a big mound of entangled tops. And it'll be ground cover and it'll smother out the weeds and we won't have to worry about it. So what we'll do, if you did not have the sprouts, you can just throw them in the ground as is, no problem. Now, based on the size of your tuber, in good growing conditions like zone 7, 7A, 8, 9, you're going to get 3, 4, 5 inch in length of a diameter that's somewhere around a broom handle. Here, because it's colder, shorter growing season, they're smaller, but they've still got a good taste. You can divide these just like you would a regular tuber potato. We've chosen not to do that with these because these have got sprouts on them, and we're just going to gently place them in the holes here, and then we're going to backfill with compost. So we're going to be gentle about putting these in the ground, and however we can get them in the ground, there we go. We don't have to worry about hardening them off or worrying about the sprouts or anything like that, because most of them will be underground. And the ones that are above, you can see they're in the sand. They do have some color to them, and that's where your leaves are going to develop. So I'm going to get these all planted, and then we'll get in here and put some compost, and I'll explain why we're doing that versus just backfilling them with native soil. All right, so I've got all of our Ocas planted here. I do have several left over. I'll figure out somewhere else. What I might do is just come in here, work this enough to where I can get another 6 plants in here. Now what I also may do, because I've got 6 extra, I may just double up on the holes, because I don't want to use the whole garden or use the whole bed up for this particular application. This is intended for peppers here, but I may have a half a bed that I'll have something else for anyway. Gardening is a whole planting thing. So what we've done here, you want to plant these about 4 inches deep, 4 to 6 inches, it's okay. Now last year when we did this, we actually started them inside. If you can get soil that's a little more on the acidic side, that's ideal. But your native, normal native soil will work for these plants. If you're growing something like blueberries, then you want to be more cautious about the acidity. So I've got these planted. Now what I'm doing here is, instead of just backfilling with the native soil, I'm actually using some certified leaf compost from Sioux Growing Supply and filling gently on top for 2 reasons. One, because these have sprouts on them, and I don't want to bust the sprouts off by just throwing big chunks of soil in. And 2, the soil, this particular end of the bed is not as loose and loomy rich as I would like it to be, and the compost is going to impermeate into the soil and kind of help build the soil as we're actually growing the Ocas. So whether you probably have never heard of Ocas, you've probably never grown Ocas, this is not something I would recommend for a container. Though if you have a large enough container that you can wheel into a garage or a barn to prevent it from getting frost on it late in the season, then that would work. This is really a touch and go plant. If you've got a little space to grow, this is not something you want to use that little space to grow, use it to grow in. You want to use something that you know will produce. This is a novelty. This is a great thing to experiment with, especially if you're in zone 5, 4, 5, or 6. It will work, and it does produce very, very nice tubers. You have to do some research and see which tuber would work best for the fragrance and the taste in which you're looking for. So our Ocas are going to get planted here, and we hopefully will continue to grow, and you can save the tubers in sand like we have year after year once you get your first crop.
So we have found that leaf lettuce grows very well in our Zone 5 climate garden. We also found that romaine grows very well. Now the iceberg head lettuce doesn't do well here at all. So romaine lettuce grows in a cylinder type head and gets about 10 to 12 inches in height and works very well in containers. We've grown it actually in ground too. Years ago we bought it from starts. This year we started our seeds and we're going to plant 4 in this. It's about 14 by 14 container here. And what I'm going to do here is just take one out of the cell here and divide it gently. No, I amended this with good compost, so there's no real necessity in order to add more nutrients to it. Now, if you have poor soil, if you're in the native soil, you can add some organic fertilizer to it. And I'm just going to gently divide the two apart here. The drier the soil, the easier it will be to break these apart. You are going to tear roots, but it's not going to be something that's going to kill the plant. And all right, that'll work. If you see some leaves that are kind of on the dead side, you can pull those. And all I'm wanting to do is plant it about the same depth. I go a little bit deeper than it was in the container, and then these will perk back up. I'm going to do 2 green, and I'm also going to do 2 red. I'll get rid of that leaf there. And backfill. That looks nice. Now I've got, I'll just take this cell here, and I'll do the same thing. And they'll take about 60 or 70 days to reach maturity. And these are not this is not a leaf lettuce. So this does not mean you can harvest the leaves as you want and then it'll regrow back. What you're waiting for is that head to form, and then you remove the whole plant, and that is your harvest. So romaine lettuce, very different than leaf lettuce, but still a very easy crop to grow in your backyard garden.
So this is a great ideal for a front yard planter. This is a half of a whiskey barrel. If you find these, people throw them out. There is challenges to this project if you allow them to fall apart. It took 3 people in order just to get it back to this relevant shape, and we had extra boards, so we had to wedge them in. So it is a challenge because it's all centrifugal force, and it's better if you don't allow it to collapse or have people tamper with it until you get it filled with soil. Since we've got it filled with certified leaf compost, there's enough outward pressure along with the bands around here that it's going to be fine. Now, here's something you need to know. A typical half whiskey barrel will hold 4 cubic feet of soil. So if you're trying to figure out how much soil you need, that's how much you need. What we had done was we had 2 20-pound bags of just really old sandy topsoil that was purchased by the homeowner many years ago. We used that as a base, and it filled it, a couple inches high. Then we went ahead and topped it off with a bag of certified leaf compost from Sioux Growing Supply. So in addition to all of that, the base here is cardboard, and I have cut the extra portions off, and you can see I've left about a 2-inch gap. This is not something you have to do, but what this gives us is the ability to run the lawnmower around the base here and not have to worry about trimming. That is, it's already done for us. And this will break down over the year, so it's not a big deal. And you can paint these, or you can leave them naturally looking like this. So this is a great herb planting opportunity. We're going to plant oregano, we're going to plant some regular basil, and then we're going to do half in cilantro. This is a partial shade in the afternoon when the warmest temperatures occur. We get morning sun that direction, it comes over the house. So this will work well for the cilantro. And when it goes to cedar bolt, we can remove it and plant something else in its place, and that can be determined at a later date. So again, we've quadrant it off. Really, we only need that there. And when you're planting herb seeds or lettuce seeds or fill in the blank, if you have older seeds, as the years pass, the germination rate percentage of these seeds go down dramatically, or go down continuously. So all we're going to do with these is we're going to heavily plant our cilantro. And I'm just going to, we don't have to add any nutrients to this because this is good rich leaf compost. But I am going to try to make somewhat rows here so I have some definition of what I'm doing. And we can just take all of these. And coriander is the chef's name for this. That's just what these are. Now, you might be able to go to your kitchen and get coriander seed and plant, but sometimes those seeds are heat treated, in which they won't germinate. So a good certified seed provider is best. And we're just going to heavily plant these, way more than what is recommended. One, if it does all germinate, then that's great. We can pack it in tight. If they don't, then we've got necessary the amount there that hopefully will fill in. You can see, there we go. We're just going to leave that alone until we get the rest planted. Now with the basil is the same way. I'm going to heavily seed. Now it's colder right now, and we've got some cool and sometimes freezing temperatures here in the next 7-day forecast. What we're going to do is experiment and go ahead and plant all of this at the same time. This will basically allow the seeds to set there until the temperatures in the soil are adequate, and then they will germinate. So it's not a big deal. Nature does this. These seeds fell on the ground last year. They're going to sit on the ground until the temperatures are warm enough, moisture is regular, and they're going to go ahead and sprout. So keep that in mind if you're trying to plant some early seeds in the ground. So I'm just going to take, and again, use up all most of these seeds. I'm not going to use all of them, but I'm going to kind of run my finger here and heavily seed. And since we're only doing a quarter here, it's not that bad. Put these back in. Okay, so that's done. Now with the oregano, these seeds are extremely tiny. I mean, just flakes of seeds. So this package here, and we all have old seeds, this package was, sell by date was December of 2010. So we're just going to use the whole deal. Now, oregano is kind of a crop that kind of like a bushy type of seed here. And I'm just going to go ahead and broadcast all of the seeds here. I'm just going to go like that and plant them all like that. So it's a, hi. Danny's going to help finish up the project here. So come over here. Come on. Yeah. So with a project like this, it's a great planter it's a great planter for the yard, in the front yard, and it doesn't look like you're growing vegetables. It just looks like a decorative container. Thanks for joining me. Join me next time for more organic gardening and food preserving. I'm Joy Barrett, and this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. Good job, Danny.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.